Up for a local underground kick awesome.
And would you like the star of your school?
They hate me.
You'll meet them all again on the long journey to the middle. Your writing is damn good. It's just that you missed out on rock and roll. It's over. It's over. We got here just in time for the death battle. Slap the gas.
What is up, guys? It is the Sports Sir Bradley Walker, and welcome to the Walker Report. Happy Thursday. The Walker Report is part of NGSC Sports, guys. Remember the website. It's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We are also part of the Game Winner Sports Network, Stillman Multimedia Sports, Mancini Media, and the Sports Alliance Incorporated of America. Welcome in, guys. Happy Thursday. Guys, I have some good news. We will be joined next week by Tony Morant. He is an author of a book, and he is an author. He was inducted into the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame in 2022. He is bringing the love of baseball to America's youth. The name of the book is Baseball, the New York Game. He will be joining us next week. Guys, I'm embarrassed to say this. I actually set up a call with him and forgot about it. He called me yesterday, and we got everything squared away. So he will be joining us next week. So that'll be good. He'll be on next week. Guys, we have two great sponsors. Creating ZenSpaces.com. It is the local choice in St. Petersburg, Florida, for house cleaning, organization, decluttering, and pet sitting. It's about finding the peace within, uniting comfort to your life. And guys, remember, Zen Spaces begins with you. Be kind to yourself and one another. Also sponsored by fun-wags.com. Actually, my friend Sophie, I'll be seeing her this weekend at her the event. But again, they are a pet treat company that provides pet treats for dogs, cats, rodents, and rabbits. Again, they are not anything you can't pronounce. They have 3 ingredients you can't pronounce. Again, the company was born from a near tragedy. And head over to fun-wags.com to experience those treats. I will be seeing her on Saturday, sometime Saturday afternoon. So we have a guest lined up for next week, and I will be seeing my friends later on this weekend. I thought I might get credentials to the Orioles-Rays series. I did not. So I have a free weekend to chill out and stuff like that. But let me bring on 2 of my 3 great co-hosts. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Bradley.
Good evening. Good evening.
Today starts Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and is it Game 1 of the NHL? Too?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. I was good. That would be kind of weird for them to start both of them on the same day.
And on the same network too, so it's obviously you can't because on the same network.
True. That's a good point.
However, they did make that mistake once because one night, I believe it was, I think either 2016 or 2017, they had on the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals on the same night. I'm like, what are you doing? Are you that stupid? First of all, you're gonna get the NBA is gonna kick the NHL's ass anyway because if you look at the microscope here, you can see here. Let's see. Okay, NBA ratings up here, NHL. Wow, even down below midget wrestling. Holy mackerel, that's a shame. Ooh. So you get the idea. So
true.
I guess if it was okay, we're not gonna do this anymore because that was a stupid thing to do. So they wised up.
Yep.
Thank you.
No, that's right. I mean that you shouldn't start 2 championship series on the same day. That's stupid.
Well, at the same time, though, I mean, you can do it the same day. I mean, one in the afternoon, one at night. Yeah. Well, that probably wouldn't happen. But at the same time,
Guys, I happened to watch the Amazon Prime documentary about Barry Sanders, Bye Bye Barry, today. Very,
yeah.
very
How was that?
interesting, very interesting, guys, about him and him coming up. And gotta say that he is probably one of the most humblest football players I think I've ever got to watch. I mean, he never was out for individual stats, took himself out of high school, college, and pro games to avoid records. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting documentary about him, and obviously when he was drafted by the Lions and the years that he had to went through with the 2 playoff wins that they had with him as their running back, and it's worth watching if you, to be honest with you guys.
Sure.
Okay. So let's see here. And guys, if you do not mind, Alex may be joining us next week, just to give you guys a heads up. So
Okay.
I'll leave that out there for you.
I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that at all.
We'll see how that goes.
Well, and I told him that we have a guest on next week, so he's got to be minding his P's and Q's, because last time we had a guest on, he was on, we had the big meltdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a disaster the last time.
P's and Q's and every other of the alphabet. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. I want to make sure it's okay with you guys, because obviously we've been on this show for
It's all right.
2 years, 3 years now.
Quite a while
I
now.
don't want to upset you guys by any means.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's great. I'm totally fine with him trying again. I'm never gonna say. I'm never gonna tell a guy no.
No.
I mean, for me, that whole night is water under the bridge at this point.
Right.
I think, and we could have we should have handled that a little bit more professionally in the beginning. And I think we're all better people than we were then. We have a lot more understanding how to deal with how to do the do we do. And so this time I think we'll be able to get a lot more confidence, and if we have to, we will, make use of the mute button.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah, there's that too.
I think his biggest problem is he's just so energetic, and every thought has to come out all at once.
Energetic is fine, but when you go overboard, that's another thing.
Well, he's enthusiastic, very excited, and when you have that kind of excitement, especially when you don't do this on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
And it's something that from watching other interviewers and watching other people do interviews, like the best thing that you can do when you're conducting an interview is depending on what type of interview you're conducting, but a lot of interviews are one-way conversations, right? You want to give your guest a kind of a vague question where they can expand and attack the question, and then you let them run, and you let them go to the end of wherever they're going, and you don't interrupt constantly, and keep trying to change the topic 74 times. Ask one question, follow it to its logical conclusion. Take notes, whether you take notes physically or mentally. Take some notes. Hey, I want to go in this direction. I want to ask you about this. Yeah. What are your thoughts on X? And then let them go off on a tangent. Now, a lot of times depending on how long the interview is going to go, you might cut a guest off. Like, all right, let's switch the gears here because we got a lot to get to. And you might, a lot of times there's a lot of times when you're doing an interview, all the questions are pre-planned. So you might have 15, 20, you might say 20 minutes for an interview, like on Pat McAfee or Levitard or early on when in Mike and Mike or whatever, or like you might have a 20-minute segment, and your producer and your writers will go and talk to the people, the person you're interviewing. Let's say you got say Eli Manning. You got an interview with Eli Manning on Monday morning at 8:30. So the Golic people, the Mike and Mike people will go talk to Eli's people. Hey, these are the questions we want to ask. What do you think of them? And then they'll go, okay, you can ask this question, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one, and that one. And so these are the approved topics to ask him about. And so then when you conduct your interview, you stick to the topics that you both agreed on to talk about beforehand.
No, I agree, but like I said, I totally got absent-minded and forgot that I actually set up a call with this guy. He called me yesterday on the phone, and I'm like, oh, he's like, well, I'll come on any time. And I said, well, we have this Thursday open. He's like, no. He goes, how about next Thursday? He lives in New York, so he's on the same time zone. So we don't have to worry about him being an hour or 3 hour behind us or anything like that.
6 hours, like the guy in Brazil.
But yeah, he wants to talk about his book and the program that he does. So it's about youth baseball. So it's a lot about that. The guy's an insight. He has a book, and a lot of times, it's nice to talk about the book because I don't own a copy. Maybe he'll be a grace to send us all a copy, but he sounded like a very, very nice guy on the phone. He like, I want to help you get out there. He said, I'm like, well, that's cool. I mean, again, I find more guests on LinkedIn than any other social media platform, and it's nice because I don't know if it's more professional on there. I don't know, but a majority.
I don't have a LinkedIn. So
the doctor that we had on, guys with the mouthpiece, I found him on there.
Right.
The guy
the other book guy
that had the. I was gonna say, but the Lance Armstrong book guy, I found him on LinkedIn. So they want to connect and they want to get their story out, and I'm like, if you can help, us too.
I'm more than happy to.
Fantastic,
I'm more than happy to entertain anyone that would want to come on and talk to us for 15 minutes. That's my biggest thing is to make it worth both our whiles. Like 15 minutes. Anything over 15 minutes, and I'm more than happy to let you go. But anything under 15 minutes, and I kind of feel like we're wasting our time here. 15 minutes is, I think, each of us gets to ask a question, or if you're here, then the four of us get to ask a question.
Yes.
Like the way I see an interview, like you bring them on, you introduce them, their book, you give them like 2 minutes to lay out the foundation of the book and what the book is about. Then we each in turn ask a question, a minute, 2 minute answer, and then we see where we're at. And if there's anything more, then that gives us a chance to each get a couple questions in, get a couple answers in, any follow-up questions that might come from Lou or Brad asking a question that I might have, and vice versa. That I me asking a question, and what questions that they might have. So, to me, I think 15 minutes is a very solid baseline.
I think so.
I told him that. I said, normally, the normal is 15 minutes. And I said, Tony, you can be on for 15 minutes, or we've even had guests that have been on for an hour, 2 hours, the whole show, like Jeff.
Yep.
And speaking of
those two guys,
the Barry documentary, Jim Brandstander, and I'm like, we interviewed that guy. Like, he's on that. He's on that documentary. I'm like, we interviewed him. We interviewed that guy.
That was such a cool interview.
Cool.
If I never do anything,
he's
right.
So
Great guy. Great guy. Great having him on the show.
Yes.
But you know, and so that's how I look at an interview. Like we each get a couple questions in, let them give a couple answers, kind of keep the questions short and simple. It depends on the interview too. Like with Jeff or the two guys, the two fantasy guys. Like those, I feel like are more free flowing, more free form. We're like with Tony. I think you said his name was. Like the idea is to let him promote his book right through our platform. That's kind of like that's the trade off, right? A lot of times that's why celebrities go on the late night talk shows. Like they go on Fallon or Kimmel or I don't know, whoever's on CBS now. I don't Colbert, I think it is. Like that's a trade off, right? You know, Scarlett Johansson goes on Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon will give her time to promote her new movie, and Scarlett Johansson lets him ask some stupid questions to entertain. You know, like Jimmy's audience wants to see Scarlett Johansson, so the incentive for Scarlett Johansson to go on his show is to promote her new movie, and so Jimmy wants to have her on the show, so because the fans want to see her. So the trade-off is she gets to promote her book. With Jeff and the draft dudes, when we have them on, and I love having Jeff on, and the two dudes that we had with last year when we were doing our draft, our fantasy draft is why I said draft like 3 times in that sentence, not to confuse anyone other than myself. But
I knew what you meant.
But those type of interviews where we have we have them on for a very specific reason, asking them questions about very specific topics, where they're not necessarily coming on here to promote a product or a book or you know, something, or we're not doing an interview with a star, if you will, like when we had Branson on where it was just where we ended up letting him promote his stuff, but the whole point of the interview was to geek out for 40 minutes. So
let me ask you guys a question, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but in Tennessee and in New Jersey, is there NIL deals for high school students? Because in the state of Florida, they just announced that they're going to do NIL deals for high school athletes. I want to know what you guys' opinion is on that. Not new, okay? Because they said
yes.
It's not the radio yesterday. There was 16 or 20 states that had already done NIL deals
31
for high school, and I'm like, you're paying high school athletes, and you're teaching them that. I mean, the whole thing with the now, if I'm getting paid, I have it. Well, again, you do have a chance to get to the pros one way if you get paid or not. But it's going to be interesting with private schools and stuff like that because they have the funding where the public schools don't. So I'm not. Guys, I'm going to do a one-on-one interview with the coach that I know from Pinellas Park High School. He only wants to do a one-on-one, guys. So I'm going to do the interview with him about this. But I want to know what you guys' opinion is on it. Go ahead. I'll give you guys the floor.
You know, I don't think we have it yet, but I'm sure we're going to in the near future. I mean, here in the state of New Jersey.
Gotcha.
You know,
okay.
It's probably gonna happen. I don't know when, but I'm sure it's gonna happen. I think within the next 2 years or so. I mean, first with the colleges, and now all these high school kids are doing it. So it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen here in Jersey too. I mean, if it happens in New York, it's gonna happen here.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna have an interview with the coach that I know, and so I'll get his opinion.
Yes.
He's not happy about it. I can tell you that right now. So
I don't.
But I'll do the interview with him, and I'll play it on here, guys, and let you listen to what he has to say. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can do that where we stop it and we make comments and whatever. But I think him and I are gonna have to agree to disagree on this because I think I've always felt like school and sports should be divorced in the first place. I've never liked the fact that, you know, playing sports is a prerequisite to playing sports is doing good in school. For someone who was mediocre in school at best, and now I didn't play school and sports because I was homeschooled, but part of my problem is that not everyone is going to be a good enough student to make grades to play sports, and I don't think that I've never felt like sports and school should be separate entities. And part of the thing is like letting student athletes see. And the thing about it is that a lot of the problems that you run into, a lot of the corruption that you run into in sports, and especially in college and high school, and is the fact that the money has to be, the deals have to be done under the table, right? So now you're taking away the black money, and everything's above board, and you don't have to. You can really see what the impact the money in the local area is doing. And to me, I think it also part of it is one thing that I'm interested to see, and I hope that somebody does a study. So if you're looking for a doctoral dissertation, look at the money. Somebody needs to study the money in college and pros, and let's see how paying student athletes in college and now high school affects the long-term financial health of pro athletes. Because so many pro athletes, they get out of school, or so many athletes come out of school and make that first paycheck, and they get paid, and their taxes come out, and their incidentals come out, and fees and medical and dental and vision and all that stuff that has to come out, and they've got $55,000 in their bank account, and they've never had more than 2 nickels to rub together like these two here. And now they've gone from now they bought their mom a house, they bought their mom a house and their grandma a house, and they bought a couple cars, and they bought all this fancy jewelry and all these real nice clothes, and they're rolling fat and looking fly.
Mm-hmm.
And then their next check comes in, and okay, pay out mom's house, pay out grandma's house, buy more clothes, buy more jewelry, buy another house, They got the one house by where they grew up by their mom. They got a house by their mom. They got a house by their grandma. And they got a house where they rent an apartment where they play, and then we hear all these horror stories about how these athletes went broke when they played 3 years in the NFL, made 18. They were a journeyman in the NFL, made $18 million.
Yeah.
And they're 3 years out of school, or they're 3 years out of the NFL, and they're destitute. They've had to sell all the houses, sell all the cars, and now they've fallen back on their schooling, and they're working as an they're working as an ad exec at an agency, making $65,000 a year. And the financial irresponsibility when you're 18, 19, 20, and you get, when you're like, you go from not having any money as an 18-year-old to graduating college and having millions of dollars at your disposal over the course of the year, and you've had no financial responsibility and no financial coaching, no financial tutoring through your 4 years in college, because you couldn't get paid anything. You couldn't get paid for being a student athlete because there's that age-old argument. Well, they're getting a scholarship. They're being paid. Their payment is being paid to play. Their payment is being given a free ride, and yet it does. And yet we hear so many horror stories about student athletes going broke, or former athletes going broke at 32 because they didn't know what to do with their money. Because when they were in the NFL, for the 8 years they were in the NFL, they retire at 31 because nobody wants to pick up a 31-year-old running back anymore. To the
Mhm.
8 years they were in the NFL,
Yeah.
they spent money left.
Yeah, you need to get a financial advisor.
Yeah, financial advisors are only as good as the money you can afford to pay them. And that's the first thing that goes. When the money goes,
Yeah, but if you don't do it with your money, I mean, you need help. I would.
well, and see the problem is that if you had financial planning in college, because you had money to actually invest in or were invested in, you had tangible assets and not promises that when you get out of school you're going to make millions of dollars in the NFL. And financial planning is only as good as your financial habits.
Yeah.
And you can't build good financial habits without money. And having and building and see the problem is that when you're now that so the problem is before in the old days, in the olden times, you weren't allowed to make any money if you were in high school. If you were a high school athlete, you could have like a summer job, but that was it. And then in college, you weren't allowed to have any kind of income at all. You were on scholarship. You were banned from earning any kind of money. And then you get to the NFL, and now here's a check for $3 million. Figure it out. And then we see, well, the problem is that when they get a check every 6 months for $3 million or whatever, and they did that for 8 years, and then they didn't need financial responsibility because they had millions of dollars coming in, and that's great. But then when you hit 31 and you retire from the NFL because your knees, nobody wants to pick up a running back with 2 bad knees, and now you're 34 and you've been living like you made $8 million every year for the last 3 years, and it's all well and good. Everyone wants to praise those guys that drive the beat up pickup trucks, and wear Goodwill clothes and save 90% of their paycheck, and that's all well and good, but that you can't. Not everyone is willing or capable of living like that. No, I think on the average is most people, if you gave them $8 million a year, are going to spend $8 million a year.
Yes.
Mhm.
And financial literacy is something that can only be taught to people with money. Teaching young people how to manage their money and how to budget and live. Because you see so many, because I think a lot of people get scared of budgeting, right? Because when you talk about budgeting and you talk about, especially in terms of athletes, because we don't praise the athlete that saves $2 million a year and spends $4 million a year. We don't talk about that guy. We the only two, because extremes sell, right? Those are good for headlines. The Chad Ochocinco's, the Terrell Owens of the world, the guys that are, spending in excess, making millions and spending millions, living high on the hog. And it's really easy to walk into a casino with $100,000 in your pocket and walk out with 200 grand less than you walked in with. You get into those high rolling casinos and you're having fun and money's flowing, and next thing you know, you're down $200,000. And so those guys make headlines, they get all the noise. And then on the complete opposite, you got the other end of the spectrum is the guy that saves 90% of his football money. He makes $6.1 million a year, and he saves $590,000 or $5,300,000 or whatever after taxes and all that. And we learned him as the shining example, the beacon, a beacon of strength and virtue, because he's being responsible with his money. Because he's going to be able to retire, he's going to be able to live on his football money. He's not going to have to work. But we don't talk about the guy who lives on his football money. He makes $6 million a year, with $2 million in the bank, lives on the other 4. Understands that when he gets done playing, he's going to have to downsize. That buying cars that are going to appreciate over time, buying rare cars, buying cars that are being discontinued, buying houses, buying real estate, and just living life. We don't talk about that guy because he's not living one extreme or the other. He's just kind of going along a regular dude. He lives like you, the three of us might live with millions of dollars. A nice home, a couple of nice cars, a boat, takes a couple of vacations every year. When he's done with football, he's gonna be fine. But he doesn't sell. He's not a horror story or a inspirational story. He's just the average football player that makes an average football salary and lives an average football life. Oh, because nobody wants to hear about the rock star that went home at 8:30. Nobody wants to hear about the athlete who didn't spend $200,000 in Vegas. Nobody wants to hear about the movie star that tucked their children in at 11 p.m. It's not exciting. Took the kids down at 9 and had a glass of red wine and went to bed at a reasonable hour. It's not exciting. We don't get up for those kind of stories.
No, we don't.
And I guess the overarching point I'm trying to make is that only time will tell whether it'll be good or bad. But I think a lot of what I'm hoping for in an ideal world is that it will limit it'll help to expose the money in high school athletics, the dirty money. That's what I think my biggest problem with the NIL was everybody knew that there was so much dirty money it wasn't funny, but nobody wanted to crack down on it because everybody was getting paid. And so if you're getting paid and I'm getting paid and nobody says anything, it's all right. You're gonna make him an offer. You can't refuse. You're gonna wake up with a horse head in your bed.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Well, it's this way. Rather a Godfather than a Godfucker.
Leaves a gun. Take the cannoli. I love cannolis. Cannolis are great. Kind of looks like a football. But
I can go along with that,
Well, that's kind of where I'm at on paying high school athletes. Sure. I don't have a problem with it.
I guess I'm gonna interview him when I get a chance, and I'll play it on here. And if you guys want to hear the whole interview, and we can comment after that on it. But yeah,
my biggest
here in the state, so
yeah. I think my other biggest contention, right, is that in college and in the NFL, everyone gets paid, right? Coaches, players, executives, team president, operational football manager, manager of football operations. That was easy for me to say. No, it wasn't. They all get paid, right? Nobody bats an eyelash. That everybody gets paid in the pros. But the second you suggest that student athletes should get paid, shock horror. The coaching, the team president at Rutgers, he got paid. The coach at Rutgers, he got paid. The starting center, no, he doesn't deserve to get paid. Well, he's already getting his scholarship is his payment.
That's right.
No, his scholarship is a bonus. It's like the executive gets paid and then he has bonuses. A scholarship is a bonus because he is especially at the prestigious universities that are at the top of college football every year. Those kids are some of the smartest, most academic, just as academically talented off the field as they are athletically talented on the field, and could very easily have earned an academic scholarship to that university. And the football scholarship is a way for them, is a great way for a lot of disprivileged youth to make something of their life that they would have otherwise not had the opportunity to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if the local car dealership thinks the offensive linemen are a great deal, and they want to give them a couple of cars, more power to you. If Adidas thinks Quinn Ewers is the next best thing, and they want to give him $3 million to wear their shoes, more power to them. Well, be still my bleeding capitalist heart, but nobody bats an eyelash when the NCAA takes Mercedes-Benz's money. Yeah, well, you know,
Right, yeah.
we're putting on the
Suit of armor.
Mm-hmm.
we're putting on the show. You know, the NCAA makes $8 billion a year. Nobody bats an eyelash when the president at Michigan has an 8 to 10 figure salary. Nobody bats an eyelash when Nick Saban has $10 million in the bank and is pulling in $100 million for the university when he's got them in national championship games every other year. But God forbid, because we have such a weird taboo against everybody getting, and see, this is something I don't understand. And I think I've won both of y'all over to my side on this issue over the last couple of years as I've gone on about it. Every time it rears student athletes getting paid, rears its ugly head. But it's something I've never understood. Like, you know, at the beginning of college sports, I kind of understand the argument when the schools were just where it was a privilege, and there were only so many scholarships. I can kind of understand that, but now at this point where we have so much big money, it makes zero sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I want to see how it works out because a lot of people, you know, scoffed their heads when they did it in college, and
Yep.
I think the NCAA just filed a grievance with universities to, you know, do what they want to do. So I'm curious. And again, I think it's going to come down to where the school is financially too. I think you're going to have, even though kids are say they're going to a public school, like you said, man, maybe there'll be a local dealership. It's like, hey, how about you stay at this school and I'll give you a car, but don't go to that private school. You know, like I'll give you a car if you stay here. So again, we'll have to wait and see how it all boils down. You know, how it all goes down after it starts up. So I'm curious.
If I may interject just a little bit, is I think it's not so much that they're keeping kids from going to one school or another school, but it's like the rich private school kids are already getting cars from dealerships just under the table, right? Everybody knows that those rich snooty assholes at Upchuck High down the road with their $40,000 in tuition, that new Camry that the quarterback's rolling around in, his daddy didn't put out a dime for that. Everybody knows, but nobody can say anything because Upchuck U boosters own the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Now, struggle high down the road they can't go to Mr. Blippi's used car dealership and be like, hey, it'd be really cool if we get a couple of used cars for our athletes, because that's illegal, right? Now, struggle high can go to Mr. Blippy and say, hey, look, it's legal now. If you want to support the school, because you went here because you graduated here 15 years ago before you went off to college and got your MBA, and now you got 3 dealerships in the local area, and now Mr. Blippy can be like, yeah, no, you know what? Here you go. Have a couple of used cars. And it's a great way for Mr. Blippy to create goodwill in the community by donating a couple cars to some of the less fortunate in his community. It is totally above board, and it's totally illegal, and it's probably even a tax write-off for Mr. Blippy. So, I think a lot of people in the local area know that the rich private school is already getting bonuses from certain well-to-do people in the area. So why not let the underprivileged youth in the area have some of the opportunity to get some of those same bonuses, whether it's a couple free pizzas on a Friday night or whatever. I say let it all drag. Let it all hang out and let the wild side drag.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that was one of the things I wanted to bring up, guys. And I guess we could talk about the NBA Finals. I guess my question is some of the other off the stories. Obviously, we lost one of the coolest basketball players ever to play the game in Bill Walton.
That was
family. One of the coolest guys I think I've ever seen on TV or play basketball in the NBA.
About that.
The question, guys, I have is Cat. With the Timberwolves, he's due for a contract. Obviously, if they want to keep a repeat of what happened this year, they have to give him the money, right? Am I following correctly? If you want to see him going anywhere other than Minnesota, I guess is my question.
I don't see it. I mean, he's very valuable to the Wolves. He's got him this far. I don't see him going anywhere, at least not this year.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they want to sign to a long-term deal, and I think he'd be willing to take it.
I don't know. That all depends on whether he wants to, whether they want to just. They didn't make it to the conference finals, though. Or did they? Yeah, they did. I'm sorry.
Yes.
They didn't make it out of the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
They got past the Nuggets, but they couldn't get past Dallas. And I mean, if you're re-signing the guy, you've got it. There's got to be. There's going to have to be a shake-up there, because what you did was good, but it wasn't good enough.
Right.
And I don't know if you want to go back to that well too many more times, because they're not going to sneak up on anybody next year, because everybody's going to be gunning for them, because they're the new number 2 in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it in terms of NASCAR. When you watch the cars, I've seen too many drivers, too many crew chiefs. The driver comes in for a pit stop, around the 100-lap mark, the 200-lap race. You're halfway through the race, and he comes in. Hey, no, I don't want any changes. Put a new set of tires on the car. Car go back out there on the track. And he's a 10th off every lap. And he's on the radio hollering, "What'd you do to this car?" Crew chief's like, "I didn't do nothing." And I think that I think that this is the case where, I hesitate to say change for the sake of change because that's not necessarily the best thing either. But where you're at now didn't get you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't follow the basketball as closely as I once did a few years back. But no, so I don't know who else would be on the market and available. But I think that I think that you have to explore all your options here. Keep your mind open.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
And also remember one thing as well. It sucks to be number 2.
It really does. Second is just the first loser.
Yes. The best among the losers.
Yeah. Close but no cigar.
What is you guys' prediction for the finals? Who do you guys have? How many games? That kind of stuff.
I hate to say it, but the Celtics in a sweep, even though I don't want it.
Wow.
I'm gonna say
Especially Porzingis
wow.
coming back. I mean, it's only going to add. Look, the Celtics have been too dumb in these players. They've lost one game in the entire postseason so far, and Porzingis expected to be back. That's only going to add to it. I don't see how Dallas going to measure up.
everybody's underestimated Dallas all postseason. They've been a dog all postseason. I like Mavs in 6. Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Boston just goes out there and slacks the absolute dog piss out of Dallas. But they're a scrappy bunch. I think if they can get a win here tonight and make it a series, and they're in Boston, aren't they? Game 1's in Boston, right?
Yes, games 1 and 2. 1 and 2.
If they can win 1 or 2 of these games and make it a series, headed back to Dallas.
Yes, 4 and 5.
It's the playoffs. It's the championship. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be a fun series. Even if Boston sweeps, I think it'll be 4 close games. And I think it'll come down to a basket or 2 late in the game. Dallas is very good defensively. They're scrappy. They're tough. They're a no nonsense kind of team. They'll keep it close. And if they keep it close, they give themselves a shot to win in the end. And I think that's the big thing is just keeping it close and giving yourself a chance to win.
I could see. I'm going to say Boston in 6. I think Dallas wins at least 2 games. I think it's going to come down to how well Luka and Kyrie do. If they have off games, see, Boston doesn't have to rely on just 2 people. They've got Brown and company. They don't have to worry about if one of them have a bad night. They're okay. But if Kyrie and Luka are off, then Dallas doesn't have that supporting cast. But you're right; they do play well defensive basketball, and if you can get the Celtics off pat, then yeah, they have a shot at pulling off the upset. But I mean, I guess I like Boston in 6. I think Dallas will win at least 1 or 2 games, or it might be the other way around, and Dallas in 6, and in a couple weeks, we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks winning their 2nd championship, right? Would it be the 2nd one they've won? Second
yes.
one? Okay.
Yes.
So either that or it'll be the 18th or is it the 19th for Boston?
18.
I think it's 18.
18?
Yeah, they're tied. They tied the Lakers for the most.
Because they won in what year? 2008. 08. Okay.
08.
That was
For them,
the
it's a long time.
Kevin Garnett. That was
Yeah.
the Kevin Garnett year, right?
That
Garnett,
was anything.
Yes.
Paul Pierce. Yeah.
The anything is possible team.
Yes.
No, I think it's fixing to be a fun finals. I think it'll be four. I think it'll be if like we said, to Boston and 4. I think it'll be 4 close games, 10 points or less. Come down to a couple of made shots and mixed shots. Kind of like what you would hope for a good basketball game.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, we could, guys, talk about the other final with
We
the
could.
NHL. Starts on
Against
Saturday. Between the Florida Panthers, who have never won a Stanley Cup, been there twice, and now
Yeah.
you have Edmonton, who hasn't won one since Gretzky left, I think.
1990.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep. 1990. It was the first year after the Gretzky left. They won.
Okay.
Messier got the Gretzky monkey off his back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, who do you guys like in that series? Give me your predictions.
Oh, God, I don't know. I don't know.
Your stuff too? Wow.
I hate to
4
say
and
this.
7.
You said I'm going to say the Panthers in 7. I think this is finally it. Third time's the charm. I think it's going to go 7 games. There's too much firepower on both sides with goal scoring that there's no way there's going to be a sweep. I would be shocked.
No.
There's a sweep. It'll be high scoring games. It's not going to be 3-2, 2-1. It's going to be it's going to be high.
I was thinking the opposite.
You think it's the opposite, Lou? Okay.
Well, I think they're both great goaltending. I think it's going to be kind of hard to get a lot of scoring in between these. So I was thinking the opposite.
Okay.
I could be wrong, of course, but that's.
I think
That's fine.
I think it'll be tight, high scoring games. 4-3, 5-4. I think Florida's tenacity, Florida's toughness, their willingness to bang bodies down low. They can play a 200-foot game with anybody. But with stars like McDavid and Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, you've got to be able to open the ice up and get them going north-south. And I think Florida does a good job of taking that away from what I've seen from them in the regular season and in the postseason. Post office? Apparently they're playing the post office now.
I'll be there in the morning.
Right?
I'll be there Sunday.
I was there last night, so we got it all covered. But I think they play a very physical, but they play fast and physical, which in the modern NHL is a deadly combination. And I think it's going to wreak havoc on McDavid and Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins. I think it's still there, but I could be wrong. No, it's not Nugent Hopkins. It's Nurse. That's what I was trying to come up with. And I think and Florida wants to be chippy. They want to mix it up and play dirty hockey. Dirty as in just nasty, gritty, not dirty as in breaking the rules. But a scrum out in front of the net, knocking people down in front of the net. A face wash, smelly palm, grabbing a guy, flipping chokehold or a headlock,
Ice shower.
Ice shower, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what Florida wants to do, and they're good at it too. And I don't know what McDavid and company will have to do is be able to match that energy from Florida. And we'll see.
I also think, you guys, that if Edmonton's obviously a key team, but Florida can play that game too. There's where I think it makes them a little bit tougher because the Panthers can play the aggressive game We saw that against the Rangers, but they can also play a speed game like against the Lightning, who use the speed too. So they can play both sides, which I think makes them a little bit more harder to predict because, like you said, they can get scrappy. They can play dirty hockey. And again, not in a dirty way, meaning against the rules. They can get aggressive with you, pop hits. They can score goals at will. So can the Oilers. So, I mean, again, I hate to say this, but let's keep the cup out of Canada. I'm just saying keep the cup out of Canada, at least for another year. But it's been such a long time since they've had one. So, yeah.
31 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right, 31.
93 was the last year. There was the Canadiens. The Montreal, the Canadiens. Yeah, the only Canadian team I want to see win it is the Senators. Just because I don't hate Ottawa or the fan base.
I think they're a few years away from being playoff.
All right, and Winnipeg. Winnipeg would be okay. I wouldn't mind seeing Winnipeg win it. They've never won one, so Winnipeg would be okay. But no, I agree completely with what you're saying. No, Florida can definitely play a 200-foot game. They can get up and down the ice with anybody. But what I think separates them from Edmonton, from the Oilers, is that they bang the body. They take the body, they muck up the ice. That's when I say nasty or dirty, I mean muck up the ice. Their forwards activate. Their defensemen are up on the rush. They're getting involved in the forecheck, the back check, and they just play a fun brand of hockey. I've said it. I said it last week on the show. They play a fun brand of hockey. They're fun to watch.
No, I agree. I think the interesting part about the playoffs with the NBA and the NHL is I think both series are going to be very entertaining. I don't think we're going to have too many boring games, and whatever side of the coin you're a fan of. Obviously, we're some of us are fans of both. If I had a choice, I'm watching more hockey than I do basketball, but. I'm sure that I'll watch at least one of the NBA final games. I'm interested to see, how it plays out. And I hate to cheer for Florida because that's the Lightning's in-state rival. But it would be cool if the Cup came back to Florida, and it would be 3 out of the last 4 years. But the Cup comes to Florida, so that would be cool. And the Panthers never won the Cup, so that's another thing too. Like Edmonton's won it. It'd be kind of cool to see a new champion. Obviously in the NBA, we're not going to have a new champion, but in the NHL, we have a shot at, just like we did last year with the Knights and the Panthers. And obviously Vegas took the cup a year ago.
Right.
So see a new team win. Because again, and guys, you don't have to agree with me, but I think as sports fans, I think sometimes, unless you're a fan of the specific team, you always want to see somebody new win. I mean, after a while, they're tired of seeing the same team in the championship every year. So after a while, it's like, okay, let's shake it up. Let's cheer for a new team or a new win. So that's what I'm kind of pulling for this year. And is cheering for the Panthers to win the cup and win their first. Because they've been there.
Right.
This will be the third time they've been there. So, yeah.
No, that's what I was going to say. I was going to agree with you and say it's always fun to watch a new team win it as long as it isn't against your team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got to, watch the Avalanche win 2 years ago, on the Lightning.
I had to suffer through yet another Avalanche Stanley Cup.
So that there was that.
Forgive me for not leaping for joy. back, you know.
Mhm.
We can jump into MLB, guy. There's a couple things that I got articles about.
Thank you,
The
Dookie.
first is, did you guys see Jorge Lopez, the Mets pitcher, throw his glove over the thing
I
and leave?
did.
He's been released, by the way. The
Yeah.
So
He got a little bit fired.
but the
To say the
newest
least.
thing, guys, is did you hear that there were 5 players suspended indefinitely for gambling on baseball?
I did. I saw at least one player was suspended.
Yeah, one player. Yeah. Topeka Marcano, if I'm even pronouncing that name
Yeah,
correctly.
nobody can say it right, so yeah, I can't. Well,
yeah.
Nobody
got 2
cares
words to say
anymore.
about that. There's only 2 words I can say about that. You're out.
Well, again, as avid as sports betting is becoming, and obviously, I think to get
You
people
can't bet on the sport you play.
exactly that you're.
It's called cheating.
100%. What I was going to say is because so many people watch sports at home, what they're going to do, and what I've heard, and again, this is, pipe dreams. I think what they're going to do is you're going to be able to gamble from your seat in the stadium. You're going to be able to gamble on plays and players and all that stuff from your seat to entice you to go to live sporting events again.
Right.
But that, again, how long that's going to take, I don't know. But the way that the games are playing now, you're exactly right. You have to be, and I'm going to say this, you have to be a fucking idiot to gamble on a sport that you play. You have to be an idiot to think that you can get away with that. Just saying.
It's like working at the lottery office and buying a Powerball ticket.
Exactly.
Dumbass.
Fucking moron.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at is you can bet on other sports. If you want to, if you're playing baseball, you bet on basketball and football and hockey. But you bet on baseball, ask Pete Rose what's going on with that crap. He's not in the Hall of Fame right now because he bet on baseball. So there you go. How an idiot do you have to be?
And see the reason, and I think we need to talk about the reason why you can't bet on baseball. And the reason is because you can now, and see, there's an argument to be made that if you don't bet on a game you're playing in, what's the harm? And I can understand that, but the problem is that you can't bet on baseball. You know these people. You are a direct let's say the Red, he played for San Diego, right? He played for the Padres.
Correct.
So let's say he bets on Rays Red Sox, right? And I'm an average Red Sox fan, and I'm watching this game, and then Mookie Betts comes up because Mookie's still in Boston, right?
He's in LA. He's a Dodger.
I can't think of any. Let's say David Ortiz comes out of retirement for one last at bat, right? Jerky. Here comes David Ortiz, and I'm the average Red Sox fan, and I put $100 on this game, and David Ortiz is 2 for 1 with a 3-run bomb, right? And now he comes up to the plate, and this goofball in San Diego has David's number and shoots him a text. Hey, David, I got a $10,000 parlay on this to hit for $1.8 million, right? And 800,000 of it is yours if you.
And say the warning.
What's the score?
37-20, Boston.
Well, it's still early.
I hate to say I told you so.
Couple of freezing right back in.
You were going to say, but if he goes up to bat, his last 2 at bats are strikeouts. I have you.
I was going to say his next. Yeah, I have him. He's already come up with. He's 1 for 2 with a 3-run jag, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching. It's the bottom of the 8th inning. He's got 2 on, down by 1, and coming facing off a left-handed pitcher who gives up 4 home runs per 9. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put $5 on this. I'm gonna bet Ortiz comes up and hits a home run. Well, Dumbo in San Diego put $10,000 on Ortiz to strike out, and he shoots Ortiz to strike. Hey, I've got $10,000 on you to strike out, and I'm gonna win $1.8 million, and $800,000 of that is yours. And Ortiz goes up there and swings and hacks at 3 pitches 3 feet out of the zone and strikes out miserably. And now I'm sat there with my $10 going, what the hell was that?
Mm-hmm.
And then come to find out that that he threw the at bat. Right? And that's why just because you're not betting on a game that you're involved in doesn't mean that you can't influence other games, but you're just like just by the sheer fact that you're in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I love betting on sports. I bet on sports all the time. I think it's fun. And I'm a responsible gambler. I only bet $10,000 once. No, I'm just kidding. I never had $10,000. Medical bills, but not actual money. So and so, I look at it like, because I don't think a lot of guys like, well, I'm not betting on the game I was in, so what does it matter, right? Like, and I think a lot of people would say that, well, he wasn't betting on a game he was in. It was like, yeah, I understand that. He may not be in that game, but that doesn't mean he can't have influence over people that are in that game. Like he could be friends with the manager or the boy or a ball boy and be like, hey, I've got a bet riding on this game. What can we do? And next thing you know, the manager pulls his pitcher in the 6th inning for some odd reason. His 8th starter with 80 pitches thrown in the 6th inning. Absolute cooking. Let's go get him. No, I'm not still bitter.
Now that we have the Hard Rock app here in Florida that we can bet, the most I think I've ever bet on a game is $20, and I lost it in basketball. So, but I mean, when they were on their winning streak, I put money on them, and then I'm like, oh, okay, they'll win, and then of course they lay an egg the day that I bet a lot of money on them. But yeah, I mean, you again, like you said, you could have influence on another player or a team or whatever by betting on the sport that you play. So yeah, like you said, oh, he knows the ball boy. Hey, do me a favor, go through the balls. If you got one that's just a little bit off, give that to the pitcher so that the pitch doesn't go the way it goes and the guy gets a hit. Who knows? Because there's so many, prop bets too now in sports. Where, okay, in tonight's game, I'm betting $10,000 the Boston Red Sox have 9 hits. Well, you can make that happen if you know people, you can make that happen. And then obviously you could say over under, on that. But I mean,
over under on Boston to have 9 hits. I'm gonna take the under. And the next thing I know, Boston goes off for 20 freaking hits because somebody in the Boston organization got with somebody in the. That's why because it's so easy to rig a game.
Yeah.
All it takes is two willing participants. Yeah. And we as fans and bettors, we want to believe, and we need to believe, rightly or wrongly, that the game is fair.
Yeah. I mean, again, you have to be an idiot to bet on the sport that you play.
Yes.
No,
I
yeah,
guess-
no, absolutely.
I guess what occurred, guys, is I guess at these books, the sports books, individual, there are people that work 24/7. Not an individual themselves. There's always someone watching computers and screens to see where these bets are coming in at. And I guess from what I heard on local radio today, that there's a guy that's on Instagram that the local radio station talks to every week to make. He's one of the better ones, I guess, if you want to call him that. If you want to
Okay.
take a risk with money, but it is. He said that what happens is that when the bets were made from this player, they picked up on it, and then somebody reported it within the book. It wasn't just the media itself; it was somebody in the book that reported it, saying, "Yes, this guy's making this bet on this." And after a while, they're like, "Red flag." They found out, and then they got him. They got them and 4 other people. I don't know if the other 4 received lifetime bans or just him. I'm not sure. I think it may have just been him. The other 4 may have.
As far as I know,
yeah, the lengthy period
as
of
far
time.
as as far as I know, it was just him. But and that's why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame
Correct.
because
Well-
he bet. Yes, he never. According to him, he never bet on the Reds. But when he was the manager of the Reds, he bet on baseball. And there's a reason why that's a no-no. Because of the
Also-
integrity of the game.
Also, too, the other one that's not in the Hall of Fame due to gambling is Shoeless Joe Jackson, who they said took money to lose games.
He
in the
never
Black
did.
Sox. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you have 2
Right.
great players that deserve to be in the Hall. Probably and I think we've discussed this too. Probably the hardest Hall of Fame to get into out of all of them is the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Baseball. Yes. Yes, definitely.
But it's I agree. I think at the end of the day, if you're gonna somebody asked,
Yeah.
well, how about the organizations? So these are teams. They set up accounts on all of these sports books. Let the players bet with their accounts, but you can't bet on baseball. So whatever sport you play, you're not allowed to make a bet on baseball. The only problem is there's ways around that, because if you can do false accounts and get outside the parameters. But yes,
Yeah, like I can, like just because, like how because you can't tell not just not because they won't listen, but I don't know how that would be legal. I don't think you could tell. Like I don't think you could write. I think that contract would get voided so fast your head would spin. I think I think a law school dropout, a drunken law school dropout would be able to get that contract deal thrown out. Where you take your money and you give it to the team for them to bet on non-baseball sports. Oh, hell no. Not only no, but hell no.
yep, yeah,
No,
Yeah.
not only that, but and how do you so let's say they take a percentage of the players. The player wants to put in 2% of each check, and let's say that's $25,000 a week. So then, what's this? How do we? Okay, then are we going on the honor system, or do they have to register like a sex offender on all the other sports books that hey, okay, I'm a member of the Miami Marlins. And I'm registered with the Miami Marlins sportsbook, so I can't be on Caesars or DraftKings or how are you going to make that? Like, it doesn't seem like a very feasible option.
It's a tangled
Yeah.
web it's a tangled web. I mean, basically, there's no way they can monitor that, and it would take too much computers or humans to
Processing power.
replace it one time to do all that. So. Yeah, no.
What there's 25 players on 30 teams in the MLB.
Yeah.
And that's only on the opening day roster. When Then they go to 40 in September, and you have call-ups and call-downs every. Okay, let's say you're Spencer Torkelson, that plays in Detroit, right? He just got sent down to the minors last week. Is he free of that contract stipulation? Now can he bet on? Now you can use any sports betting app or in-person sports booking.
Yeah, there you go.
Now and what happens to his Tiger? And now does the money that he has invested in that money that he has in the Tiger sports book has to go back to him and have to cash that money out and invest that he had plays? No. Honestly, I just think that you need to be smart. And if you want to do some dumb shit, then you're gonna have to deal with your dumb shit. Fuck around and find out. I mean, they fucked around and they found out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
The consequences of my actions.
And that's plain and simple, So yeah, if you're dumb enough to do it, then you're dumb enough to face the consequences that come with what you did. So
if it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah. Yep.
The dildo of consequence very rarely arrives lubed.
See, but I got to be very careful too, because yes, I bet on sports, but I work for a bank. So you see how that could be. That could be an issue. Because I'll be honest with you, when I first started writing articles and stuff, I was writing for a gambling website on how I thought games were going to go. And I told my boss, and my boss is like, if the bank finds out you're writing about sports gambling and you work for a bank, not a good idea. So, yeah, I have to be very, very careful with, very, very careful that I don't lose my job. But I mean, I don't.
And your lunch.
Yes, I do. I see checks every day. I do. But would I ever take someone's account? No, because I'm not gonna lose my job or be in jail. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. I mean, you have to use your common sense and go, okay, so if I steal all these account numbers, I use their account to pay my sports gambling, and they catch me, I'm in federal prison for the rest of my life.
Right.
Do I want to do freedom where I can go do and live my life, or do I want to be behind bars 23 hours a day? That's a tough one. Let me.
Yeah, right. Well,
let me think.
Let me take you a step further back. Right. Let's before we even get to the point where we're thinking about stealing people's checks to pay off our gambling debt. How about we just don't get a gambling debt in the first place? Let's try that first and see where we get with. Yeah, I think that the big thing is responsible gambling. It's just education at the end of the day. Whether it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, if you don't understand it, you're bound to be burned by it. Yep. That's all, folks.
Yep.
A bippity boppity boop.
So, in a couple months from now, we'll be talking about college football. Obviously, the 12-team playoff begins this year. The college football landscape will be much different. No Nick Saban, no Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
It's going to be very different. I'm looking forward to the 12-team playoff thing, because I want to see. But again, at the end of the day, we're going to get the same situation we had last year with FSU, where Team 13 and Team 14 don't get in, and they're going to bitch and complain. Well, I had a better conference record, or my conference was better. How did this get in and not me? Because that's going to happen again this year.
Always. Yeah, I that's one thing that I think the NFL, I think the professional point there. With the NFL, I think the NFL does it right. The 7 teams from each conference. Like, if you didn't score enough wins, you're not getting in. Tough ditties.
Right.
Because I think the other 4 major sports with the NHL, NFL, and the MLB, and NBA, especially with the NHL, where you have 3 points separating 4 teams at the end of the year, or 1 point separating 4 teams at the end of the year, and only 2 teams get in, and you have 3 teams sitting on the fringe on the outside looking in going, well, we could have played better than that. You know, like, especially like you say, Georgia's the 2 seed, or Georgia's the 5 seed because Georgia lost to Alabama in the championship again, because that's what they do, is lose conference championship games. And now Georgia's the 5 seed or the 6 seed, and they play upper pig's knuckles. They play Tennessee in the first round and actually body Tennessee 45-3. And Clemson is 9-3 and missed the conference championship by 3 games. No, and they lost the ACC by 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going, well, we could have at least gotten beat that badly by Georgia.
Right.
And because Georgia got in and got to play Liberty or Marshall or Western Michigan or Eastern Kentucky or whatever. Pick your favorite
USF.
mag school or USF. Pick your favorite non-Power 5 school that's an automatic bid because they won their Power 5 conference, the best of the Power 5, whether it be UCF or Akron or Toledo or Marshall. That, so then Clemson is out there at 9-3. Clemson, Tennessee, Penn State, USC, they're all at 9-3 going, well, we could have at least gotten beaten by Georgia by 35. And it's the most insufferable fan bases in the country.
Yeah.
It's always them. Tennessee, Alabama.
Yeah. Thank you, Bud, for sharing that song with me, buddy. I've listened to it. So
I knew you would like that. I knew you would like that.
I liked it very much. Very much. I liked it very much.
It's FU Tennessee, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, it was all about like why they hate the University of Tennessee, Rocky Top, and
I see.
I think it was FU Rocky Top.
Yeah,
I think that was it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I knew you would thoroughly enjoy it. I thought it was funny. It was Alabama though.
Yeah. Same conference. I guess Alabama fans hate Tennessee as much as I do. I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The first Saturday in October, sure I've done it. I've lived on both ends of that. I've lived in 3 of the biggest rivalries in the country: Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, and now I've lived on both sides of Tennessee, Alabama. I lived in Alabama, and now I live in Tennessee. And Alabama, Tennessee is Alabama, Tennessee for Tennessee is Alabama, Auburn for Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
No,
that's
the Iron Bowl. So yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's so for Tennessee and Tennessee fans, the Alabama game is we live right on the border. We're an hour from the border at most. It's like right on the other side of Chattanooga from me. And there are Alabama fans and Tennessee fans, and they are neighbors, husbands, wives, cousins, brothers, sisters. They are every lick and inch of family, and I live in a tri-state area, so I've got Georgia over here, Alabama over there, and Tennessee spot dab in the middle with both of them. And every now and again, you'll see a random Kentucky fan, lots of Ohio State, which is really irritating.
Yeah.
And so, Ohio, it's a state. Ohio, the worst state in the union. 11 astronauts. Need I say more? Ohio, the worst state in the union. So bad, 11 men have had to leave the planet from there.
Yes.
I don't know why I always turn into like a radio DJ from the 1940s when I talk shit about Ohio, but hey,
That's okay. I
today, June 6, 1944. Marks the date.
I'm waiting for the season to start. Like, I know it's
Oh, I'm salivating, bro.
but
I know.
back up again. So yeah,
Almost hasty. Almost. Well, we got. I'm looking forward. looking forward to NCAA 25 coming out.
yes. When is it coming?
I know.
Season
Later this summer, next month, I think. I don't know. I know Lou's not a big gamer, but you play. You don't. You kind of like a gamer, but you don't. You're not like hyper invested. I don't remember.
No, not really. Then again, I'm a little bit old for that.
Yeah, I knew you weren't. But I meant Brad because I don't remember if Brad ever said how he feels about like whether he's looking.
You know what? Probably I don't have a gaming system to play anything on. My roommate that moved out had a PlayStation 5. He had just gotten it right before he moved. So yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about the
It looks good.
about the game coming out, and again, not only do college football season rolls around. Obviously, I got USF credentials. I'm sure I'm going to get them again this year. So I'll be at 5 of the 6 home games, and I'm hoping and crossing my fingers that I get to go to Tuscaloosa this year. Boy, would that be a big upset?
God, that would be.
Week football. If we go up there and beat them, that would be huge. That would be huge.
I think if you can go up to Tuscaloosa and give them a game like you gave them this past year, I should say, that'll put the fear of God right in them. No, I know. I didn't think. Nick wasn't winning the way he had been winning, and I think Nick knew that the writing was on the wall. It's best to go out while you're still on top, man. I mean, because the game is evolving. It's changing, and get on it, get on board, or get out of the way because this train ain't stopping.
Well, and I also think too that if you want to catch, what they call a powerhouse team or something, if you catch them early in the season when they haven't got everything down yet, that might be, with USF returning a lot of their players from last year and getting some transfer guys in here. Guy got to see in the spring game. But yeah, I mean, if it ends up like that, if we catch Alabama at the right time, we have an outside chance of winning. Like you said, if we can go up there and do the same thing we did this year, it would put the fear of God in Alabama. I think we put the fear of God in Alabama this year after they beat us. I think they're like, okay, we need to wake up because we're not as powerful as we used to be in the past. We're not rolling over teams like we did in the past. People have figured out how to beat us. So
teams have figured out how to play with us. Soon they'll figure out how to beat us.
Correct. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I think this year, look at Ole Miss winning the West this year. Or LSU. Well, I wouldn't say LSU because they lost Jaden Daniels, but
no West to win.
Ole Miss is a good team this year in the West, in the SEC.
Yes.
I'm sorry, there isn't a West and East anymore because the conferences have changed. My fault. There is no.
Yeah, I was just about to correct. Yeah, I was trying to get in there and remind you.
I just remembered that now that there is no more division within the divisions.
Yeah, you were.
I'm curious to see how Oklahoma and Texas do in the SEC.
I think they'll be okay.
Me too.
I think that the SEC 10 years ago, 2015, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, when they were at the height of their decline, now that you're at the bottom of your decline, and there's only one place to go from there. Lower. Trust me, I've been there. This past year was a long time coming. A lot of bad seasons. Make the win sweater. You know, a lot of disappointing close losses, man. But no, and like you're saying about Alabama week 2, new head coach, team on the downturn. Alabama's, for the last 15, 20 years of dominance that they've had. And this is the thing, is because every 3 to 5 years, somebody predicts Alabama's downfall. This is the year that Alabama's gonna. This is the year that Alabama slips. This is the year that Alabama's vulnerable. Alabama, blah 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 blah. As Nick Saban lost it, blah 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 blah.
You get all the way to the national.
Don't make me tap the sign. Nick Saban says.
Got all the way there, then they got stopped by Michigan. So it just doesn't.
No. Let's be honest. Michigan gave them a ball game.
Yeah.
If Michigan had to put it away like they should have, it'd have been 47-20, and still one of the greatest games I've ever had the privilege of being a part of as a fan and commentator. But it wouldn't have been the instant classic barn burner where I'm screaming at my best friend at 11:30 in my hallway because we were 8:30. Sorry, it wasn't that late. It was 8:30 because we had the early game. Screaming at the top of my lungs at my best friend because we just beat Alabama. They said they couldn't do it. They said we were just screaming, "Hell yes!" Because I knew I couldn't call my mom and blow my mom's ear out, but I could blow my best friend's ear out. So, and Florida will be back there, Alabama. Bama's still Bama. And Nick Saban has changed that program for 50, 60, 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I think Kellen. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm talking over y'all.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be a new college football landscape this year. I think you're going to see teams like with the 12-team playoffs. You're probably going to see teams that you haven't seen. You know what I mean? That deserve to have been there, and they're going to be. And I could just be winging this, off the limb and say you might have an upset in the 12. You might have
a couple of them
beat a 5 seed or beat a 3 seed. It could happen. I mean, anybody can win on any given Saturday, and who knows? I mean, like I said, we could have 2 small schools. I mean, I there would be 2 small schools, but you could have it like
theoretically,
where you have 2 teams in the final or a team in the final that no one's ever heard of. Oh, where did this school come from? Who's this?
You never know.
Yeah. But there are, I understand like a Rutgers or a Vanderbilt. You're gonna have a Rutgers or a Vanderbilt. Rutgers has been 8-3 all year, but their 8-3 is the best 8-3 in the Big Ten. And so because Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State were 12-0, everybody else was 8-3, and Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, Nebraska. No, not Nebraska. Never mind. Nebraska, you suck and you will always suck. I was taking shots at everybody.
You suck.
Dun 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 dun. You suck. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun. You suck.
Like Vanderbilt in football. Oh.
Yeah. Vandy's showing up at the end of the season, reeling off 2 or 3 wins because Texas and Oklahoma and Alabama and Georgia and Florida and Tennessee and Kentucky all beat the living dog shit out of each other all year. and they're all 8-3 with the 3 losses to each other. Suffering succotash. And now Vandy went 10-1, and their one loss was to against a number then ranked second overall Alabama by 1 point in double overtime. And now all of a sudden Vandy's 10-1 is looking hella good, and Georgia or Tennessee or Florida or Miami or Clemson or Michigan or Ohio State or Oregon or USC, one of them is sitting on the outside looking in, like, oh, what the hell? We're the Blue Bloods. We paid for this, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You mean the new Big Ten because there's no Pac-12 anymore?
Right.
Well, I was going to say Nebraska should have just stayed in the Big 12 instead of going to the Big 10. Should just stay in the Big 12 and do what they do,
Know your role and shut your hole.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Going to the Big 10 was a mistake.
Well, and I think it's a case of the grass is always greener, right? The Big 12 is a dying conference. It's bleeding money. They're not making money. They're losing. They're on a downturn right now. They're not very competitive against the Big 12. So let's go to another conference. Let's rebuild the brand. We'll go to a conference that more aligns with us culturally. Nebraska likes to think they're Midwestern, but they're not. They're a plains state. Stay over the plains where you belong. And they want to come to they want to identify with the Midwest than they do the plains. They consider themselves a Midwest state, and so being in the Big 10 with the rest of the Midwestern states and the culture and that identity of blue collar, rough and tough, and 3 yards in the cloud of dust, smash mouth, Tom Osborne football. And so then the Big Ten had all this money. It was a shining beacon on the hill. And Nebraska and Rutgers, they both looked at their situation and said, it's better getting punched in the gut than in the face. And it's like, okay, well, I can get hit in the head for $5 million. I can get hit in the stomach for $10 million. I'm going to the Big Ten. Have fun, guys.
Yeah.
And the Big East, it imploded. And then I think it resurfaced a couple of years ago, but it's like reformed and it's got like Temple in it now and something. Or is Temple in the AAC?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And Boston.
BC's in the ACC, so yeah.
Okay. It's been too long since I've looked at conference realignment.
Yeah. UConn and UMass are both independent schools now. So they've both gone independent. I think UConn plays in, I don't know what
Don't they play basketball in the AAC? Or ACC?
Well, UConn's in the Big East, and in the football, they're in the AC.
Okay.
AAC, or as I call it, AC.
AAC, that's where US is at.
And that's what the conference is.
Yeah.
AC.
Which again, this year is our coach is like, hey, we won 6 games last year. We won a bowl game. He said the one thing he wants to do is host an AAC, an AC championship in Tampa. So obviously that's the goal.
I'm gonna start calling you the AC. That's great. I love it.
But they, it'll come down to how you do in your conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can win your conference. Fantastic. But again, I mean, Memphis is good. FAU is good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an easy road for USF, but if they can win conference games, I mean, what I'm curious is now that Army is in the AC, I want to see how the teams adjust to them because you don't see them that often, except unless you watch them. Or if you, I watch Army Navy every year, as much of a lot of us do.
Of course.
But
yes.
I want to see how they do against again, I know the ACC doesn't have the greatest defenses in college football,
No
but it would
kidding.
be to see them play against teams that other than Navy. How do they will the defenses be able to contain that triple option offense that they run? Because I'm just curious now that they're in a conference. I haven't even looked at their schedule this year. I have to see who they play. Let's see, because I know that. Here, let's see real quick. Let's see what Army's schedule is here, because I'm curious to see what their who their out of conference games are. All right, here we go.
I know they'll play Navy and Air Force.
Okay,
That's
so
2 games right there.
They start the season. The Red Sox are up 10-0 over the Chicago White Sox. They
My
start
answer's
with
no.
on August 30th. They play FAU, Rice at home. They play Temple on the road against Tulsa, home against UAB, home against Eastern Carolina, home against Air Force, on the road against North Texas. That's a conference game. Home against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That's going to be an interesting game. Home against UTS. They have the Army-Navy game. Well, that's a neutral site game, isn't it? The Army-Navy game? Isn't it a neutral site?
Yeah.
They don't play
Yes.
they don't play the academies, right? They don't play in Annapolis and
Not normally. They usually play at Lincoln Financial in Philly.
Philly.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, that's the Army schedule. So they do. I would like
5 or 6 wins, I think.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could see that. But I was gonna say they can win at least half those games. That's my thought process.
Yeah, I have Notre Dame as a for sure loss. I have Notre Dame, Air Force. Those are for sure losses. That I have down as for sure losses. And now I can't remember who else I had as a for sure loss.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guys, they play Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium on November.
Yeah,
23rd.
I have that.
I like that.
Saturday.
That's Black Friday. Right.
That's
Yeah, that's Black Friday weekend.
My fault.
No, it should be the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I know that math isn't.
23rd. No, Black
November
Friday is
23rd.
the 29th.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be the week before. Yeah,
Right.
You were right. I'm sorry. I had my dates all too far to think of the future.
No, all good, but all good. Yeah, they're home against Lehigh, Rice, UAB,
Lehigh and Rice are wins.
Carolina, Air Force.
Air Force is a loss.
That's who they play at home.
At home.
And their
UTS
road games are Navy. Yeah. Navy, Northern Texas, Tulsa, and Temple, and FAU, which I was at FAU Stadium last year for the bowl game that the USF Bulls were. So I got.
Yeah.
Nice.
Curious. Let me see here. I'm curious when Army plays USF for the first time. Let's see if they play them in 2025.
Next year?
Just yeah, I'm curious, bud, to see if they've already got them scheduled to play. Oh no, so they've got 5 games next year for Army. That's Kansas State, Marist, which I believe was they Marist played USF in baseball this year, at Syracuse, at Air Force, and then home against the Army Navy game. So, but I don't see USF on the schedule yet, even though I know they're in the. So I'm curious to see, because that would be, in all honesty, I would love to be able to go to West Point and watch a game as a civilian. Cover the game
Yeah.
as a media member and watch them play at West Point. Same thing with Navy. Going to Annapolis to watch them play Navy too. So either one. But yeah, the college football is definitely different this year than it has been.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
Yeah, it looks like I don't see when they don't have their next game
Okay.
listed yet. They played each other twice. Each one's won one, lost one.
Mm-hmm.
In 04, Army won. In 03, USF won.
Okay. So they have played each other before.
So you played each other twice, and you split them, and both home teams lost. So both teams have lost at home to the other, and it didn't.
So we lost in Tampa to them, but beat them in New York.
Yep.
Okay.
And it didn't say when y'all would play each other next, so it looks like it hasn't been scheduled. We're looking a ways off into the future, 27, 28, 29. That's all assuming that somebody doesn't push the button between now and the next 30 seconds and just end it all for everyone. Right white slash. Don't go into the light team.
Well, that was the whole thing too, Bud.
Sorry, that was weird.
With USF in Texas, they were supposed to have a one game here, 2 games in Texas, but because of the pandemic, that got canceled. So I'm assuming down the road that'll get rescheduled, and we'll have.
I think I heard that had been,
or
that they were.
Yeah.
I think that you were going to Austin. Then they were coming there. I think like 27, they were going to Austin, and then like 29 or 30, 31, Texas would come there, and they had scheduled that third game in that series. From what I remember seeing.
Speaking of Austin, has anybody heard from Gerald? Is he okay? I haven't heard from him.
He says hello, but he said he couldn't make it tonight. He just
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just making sure he's all right. I know he's.
Yeah, he's messaged.
Yeah, you got it too.
Memorial service the other day. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's been talking to me, and he could always use a comforting hand, but he's hanging in there as best he can.
Well, I gave to the.
Yeah, we saw that and we appreciate that. We're fixing to close it out, and we're fixing to close it out and call it a day. But we may end up just refunding you, and if you want to send it to him personally, I can get you those details.
Okay.
It just depends on what's the best option. Because if we can, we may just refund it to you and let you put that money back in your wallet, and then we can get a hold of you too. Because I don't really know what because he wants to end it soon. So
because he messaged me, Bud, about that, and I said that I had sent the money to the GoFundMe, and he was like, "Oh, okay." So I don't know. I'm like, "Oh, was I not supposed to send it there?"
No, it's okay.
GoFundMe and Cash Apps. Yeah, watch that.
Well, I just want to make sure that he gets it.
GoFundMe is hit or miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll work with the three of you to make sure that it gets to where it needs to go. So don't worry about that.
Cool.
No, because like the big problem with GoFundMe is that if you don't have a large exterior network, it's hard to raise those kind of funds, raise any kind of significant funds. Like, we don't have a large network of well-to-do, thoughtful people. So between you and me and my mom passing it around, we only can make so many connections. And with it not being somebody like, if you have a big in city connection, you can have a huge. With all the three of us kind of being just very insular and doing our own thing, it makes it hard to reach out to a larger, more generous audience.
Right. I got you. But yeah, I mean, if that's what you guys want to do, and
yeah, what I was trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is it may be cheaper for us to just refund you the money. Like, we'll get more money if we just refund it to you.
Okay.
So we'll look into that here in a little bit whenever he says he's ready to finish it. No, I'll let you know.
All right.
And I say one of the hardest things.
Okay, actually, he just messaged me just a few seconds ago as I said that. He's like, I don't feel good. I've been depressed. I'm like, all right, man, don't worry about it. You're good. Like I said, it's not going away, and when you're ready to come back, you're welcome to come back. But take your time, healing and all that stuff.
Come back.
That's what you got to do. Yeah.
Come back 100. That's what we're looking for, you to get back into the game at 100%. Take your time.
Right.
I mean, to rush it back, hurt yourself even more, worse. We love you, we miss you, and we want you back when you're ready to be back. And it's okay to take it. It's okay to feel okay.
Yes.
You can't let yourself fade down in your melancholy, in your self-loathing, because I understand in my own way, like where you're at, and I think we've all lost, familial relations at no more than 2 steps removed. Grandparents. I haven't lost my spouse or a parent yet. Knock on colored pencil. But when you're in that much love with someone, to lose that person, it knocks the wind out of yourself for years, and make you very spiteful, closed off.
Sure.
Excuse me. Very resentful of people who just their lives went on when yours ended.
Right. With me losing my mom, and Luke and losing his dad, the one thing that they don't want you to be upset for a long period of time. They want you to, I'm sure my mom and your dad and even Shannon's looking down right now. They want you to continue to enjoy your life, and they want you. I mean, like I said, my mom, loved this show. She looked forward to it. Again, she was on the other side of the wall, but she loved listening to us talk every Thursday. And
it meant a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, she, I took a week off after, she passed away, and I took that week, and now, a week later, I was ready to come back because that's what she would have wanted me to do. She wouldn't have wanted me to stay from doing this and writing and all that stuff. They don't want you to be upset. Right.
She didn't come back and haunted your ass.
Yeah.
I remember when I lost my grandpa, and I went right back to work because I didn't want to sit around the house. I knew that there would just sitting around the house doing nothing wasn't going to be enough. I needed to get out and get back in the world and deal with that for me.
Yes.
And just because the wheel, as long as the world intends to spin on, I'm going to act accordingly. and I'm sure you two can do it. You can. I don't know if anyone else can attest to what I felt in the in those intervening days, and then I think it was about. I think it was the Saturday, and I was getting ready. I was wrapping up, and I was alone. And he said, "I heard my name. I felt a hug, and it was gone. It was peace. It was bliss. It was momentarily, the blink of an eye, here and there." And I knew that he was passed on. He was into the great beyond, into the nothing. He wasn't. It wasn't joy. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't pride. It was just contentment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was the still, the quiet, the loud. It was all of that in one brief fleeting moment. My name, the poof, and he was gone. He was nothing but many happy memories. Nothing bad, nothing sad. I can't explain the etherealness of it all. It's very unscientific. It bugs the holy Jesus out of me. It is a spiritual experience in all of that, whatever, vague, fuzzy feelings that may or may not give you, depending on how jaded and broken inside you are.
Mm-hmm.
I know this has gone totally off the rails, and I deeply and sincerely apologize for that. But, I hope Gerald's listening, and I hope he knows that he means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And when he's ready to come back and be okay and tell a joke and trying to get the duct tape for me, which I probably need tonight. I think you probably agree with that. Then we look forward to reading his comments, and that our DMs insane to anybody that has made it this far in the show. I'm deeply impressed and eternally grateful for. We appreciate you listening, watching. If you need us, reach out to us. If it is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I like the very poignant from the both of you. I appreciate that.
No, that's fine. We, I agree with that. Harold, we do love you when you're able to come back.
Yeah.
Take as long as you need. To come back on here. Like Adam's right. We want to have you come back on 100%, be able to tell a joke, because that was what made the show fun with her and you guys on there was, you guys would kind of they kind of fed off each other. So yeah, I mean,
and I fed off the two of them. It was fun to play off them and work with them. Right. And like I said, like I want to come back to emphasize this, because I know there are moments when you're on your Facebook and you're scrolling, and I know how you scroll. We scroll the same way. Hey, we see a Cowboys I see a Michigan highlight, I stop, I watch. Sure, Gerald's the same way. He sees a Cowboys highlight, he stops, he watches. He feels good. He turns the video off, and now he's berating himself for enjoying that moment of brief, happy, a bit of respite. And if you need to come on here and just cry for 2 hours, where we make jokes, where we talk about sports, where we have fun, if that's what you need, we're here, we're willing, we're ready to take you on. And we won't make fun of you for crying because you need to cry. We'll make fun for you, so that when you're done crying, you're ready to laugh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with that, guys, we'll go ahead and we'll end this show. Lou, do you want to tell us about your show?
Right, Enhanced Sports Show, of course, Saturday 4 to 6 Eastern Time. Number is 512-543-4662. I'll repeat it again, 512-543-4662. Yeah, we're gonna discuss the NHL and NBA finals, which are going on right now. The finals of the French Open, turning out not to be the way some was expected it to be, though. Also, WNBA. we'll preview Euro Cup, which starts next week. Okay, I know a lot of people was like, okay, big whoop. Yeah, well, I happen to follow it, so there. WNBA, Major League Baseball, the playoff round of the UFL. Like I said,
Hey, that's
The Canadian Football League started tonight, so just to let you know that.
oh god.
Okay,
There's
WWE and UFC wrestling, of course, and anything else I failed to mention. Also, the
any midget wrestling?
WWE and UFC, both. The ridiculous item of the week, which I think we just mentioned. Sports a feel good story of the week. Your thoughts and comments as well. I hope I can get this all in a 2-hour show. I'll do my best, and of course. I think I'll go to my new feature, stuff I didn't cover last week, because there was stuff I didn't cover. 2 items I think, well, actually, one I think that most of you are familiar with that happened, and the other one, probably not so much. I'll explain it though on Saturday. So if you got time, please call in. I'll have a lot of room, and I'm going to need a lot of people because we got a lot to cover. So hopefully, hear from some of you on Saturday.
I wish I could, but I'm working most Saturday nights right now. So, sorry, bud.
Yeah. So, like I said, guys, go hop on his show. I want to thank everyone that tuned in tonight to be a part of it. Like I said, Gerald, we love you. If you need to come on, like Adam, so you need to come on here for 2 hours and cry, you are more than welcome to anytime. We will be joined next week by a guest to talk about his book and about his program to help middle schoolers, I guess, with baseball. We will have him on next week. Everyone, please have a good week. And we have there's a lot going on. French Open finals, NHL, NBA finals that are going on now. We have training camp in the NFL getting ready to kick off. I think mandatory training camp. I think it's getting ready to start soon.
OTAs.
So we got that going on as well. But we'll be back here, guys, next Thursday, 8
I have one more thing to say.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I some people may have realized, may not have realized, but I want to wish all the veterans that participated on this day of June 6, 1944, a deep and sincere thank you. This is the 80th. Today marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and so that's it. I just go ahead.
But thanks to the men and women of our armed services, and that would have been part of it. It is, yes, this is the 8th anniversary of D-Day. Thanks again to our first responders. Without our military, without our first responders, we wouldn't be here doing this that we do every week. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to the great networks. Thanks to these two gentlemen coming on here every week and making the show fun. We'll be back, guys, next week. Until then, I am the sports nerd, Bradley Walker. This is the Walker Report. Peace.
So long.
Cut, print, send it.